Healing is more than a hashtag.
Healing is prioritizing your well-being.
Healing is growing through our painful moments.
Healing is loving yourself more and more each day.
Healing is not always pretty, but it's worth it.
Healing is gratitude for another beautiful day.
Woo!
That part right there at the end.
Just healing
Yeah.
is gratitude for another beautiful day. Like no matter what happened, what occurred, what went down, what is still to come, because depending on where you are in the world, your day could be young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter what happens, there's gratitude. We're thankful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gratitude will get you a long way. It really will. It really will. No matter what's going on, just whoosah and keep it moving. That's it.
It's true. It'll take you where you need to go. And there's so much to be grateful for. You know, for those who celebrate Thanksgiving and with all the things, all the pies, all the cookies, all the cakes, all the stuffing and turkey, right?
So good.
It's the gratitude. We don't want to forget that after all is said and done, and no matter about the origins of it, we know that Thanksgiving started in a way and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The gratitude is the underlining theme.
I couldn't agree more. You know, historically, we hopefully most, if not all of us, know what kind of happened in this. But just the gratitude piece and the food piece and the family piece. Back to the food piece. You know,
back to the food piece.
Back to the food piece. My students always talking about something. You so big back. Well, you know what? That's the day to be okay with that. That's the day.
It's fine. We can be big backs.
That day, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, another episode, sis. I am blessed and grateful, speaking of gratitude, to share this stage with you so that we can continue to edify, educate, edutain, whatever, you know, to the people. So all of the above.
Yeah, same. You know, this is episode 5 and it's like, oh man, we've just been going along. And honestly, even before we get into the topic, I'm like, have noticed definitely the change in my own healing journey. That yes, we're professionals and yes, we're in the field and yes, all this, but we say this all the time. We're on this journey as well. We're not sitting high and judging from below. No, like we are on this healing journey, and the same principles that we're speaking about every other week are the principles that we have to apply to our own lives or become hypocritical. So I'm grateful to be on this journey with you. I'm grateful to see progress and to know that healing is still occurring. You know, it's more than a hashtag. You know, it's real life.
I agree with you more. Like I'm growing. You know, in our relationship, we learning how to work with each other more. And shout out to you tech savvy. You know, you a little younger. Well, you know, black don't crack. We both look good, but you a little younger. So you know how to do some of this stuff. And I'm like, sis, be patient with me, please.
Definitely.
So I'm, you know, just grateful for the growth of our relationship as we come to the people. We're living it out, as you said, you know, in our professional lives and personal. And so when we come to you, we really come into you authentic. Things that we've gone through
same day, like 2 hours before, 30 minutes before. I'm like,
it could have been some kind of way about it, like old ways. But, you know, when you want to do a new thing, you have to shed off old ways. And so we going through it too. We really are.
We're going through it too. And it's beautiful to see. And I realize that especially in different age groups and generations, that we have to model to the older generation and the younger generation of how to be. There's a level of bridgeness that's there. You know, just talking to a couple of my millennial friends about this. There's a bridge that we have to model the behavior that we want to see. No, everything wasn't done right with us. And then this younger generation, full of wisdom, but foolish. And that's no shade to anyone. Right. You have all the wisdom, you have all the stamina, all the power, all the things to speak up, and you're not taking anyone's mess, but you're unwise. So we have to marry the wisdom with the knowledge, or we're just talking, you know, or we have a bunch of wisdom, we don't say anything, we're silent, then it's a waste. So the generation come back together, and I really want to, you know, float on that healing too. Like we're in different generations, and we know the people and here, there, and we have to come back together. That's the true healing,
I
you know.
agree.
So
The unity of it all. I couldn't agree with you more, sis. I'm right there with you.
yeah.
So the people know who we are, but I know we love to let them know who we are. So you want me to kick it off? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Why
Yeah,
not?
let's do it.
You can do what it do. So for the people, just to be reminded, my name is Lakeisha J. Rigg. I am a career coach, mental health advocate. I'm also the CEO of LJR Training and Coaching. I wear quite a few hats, but at the end of the day, I'm just here to help all of us, myself included, to learn how we can grow and heal and just, just be better. Because really, it's no competition. It's just being better versions of who we are in this journey. So I'm committed to that, and I'm gonna just kick it over to my sis for her to introduce her fabulous self.
Yes, thank you, sis. So I'm Steph Jones, also known as Lilac Calandra, marriage and family therapist, mindfulness life coach, and I have committed and taken a vow. I will say this on any platform I'm on, any podcast I'm on, any speaking engagement, I have taken a vow to help people find the best versions of themselves and to let them know that healing can happen now. Sometimes we feel like we have to wait, or no, this isn't my portion in life, this isn't my lot in life. Healing is our divine right, and abundant life is what we need to live. So I've taken the commitment, I signed the contract. Let's do this, let's push forward. Let's talk about the real ugliness of healing, that it's not all glamorous and beautiful, right? I think I'm graced with the ability to hold the ugliness of healing. And then we see from that ugliness, just like having a baby, it's painful, it hurts, but then you birth the baby and it's like your whole life changes. So that's a little bit about me and just on the journey.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ooh, sis. So yes. So what we talking to the people about today? All of what you said, all of what she said. Okay, what she
What
said.
she said. Yeah. So, we're just sliding into the married to trauma. I think we've been leading up to this. I think every single episode before this has been leading up to this, because if we're talking about healing, then there has to be something we have to heal from. If you're saying, "Oh, I need to
Absolutely.
heal," so I'm like, "Sis, I need to heal." It's not just like, "Oh, no." There are things that have happened that I need to heal from,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
covenants and marriages that I need to actually break. I need to know that I'm in covenant with something, and
Yes.
then I'm like, "How do I break out of this thing so I can be free?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So with that being said, as you said, breaking free of things. So what are some of the things you kind of touched on? But what are some of the things that we, all of us, myself included, that we just have been bound to, that we struggle with detaching from, that really is keeping us from that true healing that we say we desire?
It's wild. I just feel very like reflective and contemplative. So I know my responses are going to be a little slower, and I'm okay with that
Absolutely.
because it makes me think, if I'm married to this thing, if we look at the basis of marriage, it is a covenant, right? It is a contract you sign. It is a vow you take. That's what marriage is. Like you making a large commitment to yoke yourself with something else. And when it's two people, then you're all the ways that all Lakeisha, all the ways that and then all the ways your significant other knows, all those things have to try to find a space and a spot to get together
Right. Right.
and bend and build and grow and blend and all that. If we're saying we're married to trauma, one, we have to know, we have to know who we're married to. That's what I was hinting at. That
Right.
if I don't know that I'm in a marriage with you, then I'm gonna wonder why I'm going through certain things and not realizing that my other half, and we're talking about things that are not just people, but if I'm
Exactly.
married to my trauma, that if I have taken a covenant and a vow to my trauma, to
Right.
have and to hold, it's
Yeah.
sickness and it's health.
Right.
that
Exactly.
that I am going to exhibit the characteristics of my significant other, my trauma,
Right.
that I'm going to take their energy and I'm going to live my life in trauma because I am married to this thing. Like, sis.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And it's good that you clarified that the trauma that one is married to is not necessarily a person. It's not like your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend was toxic, and so you just still, connected to that person in your mind that keeps you from moving forward. But
Right.
it could be anything that one has experienced, that is traumatic, that they are struggling with healing from, and and getting to that point where they can experience some sort of joy. So that's a good point of clarification, sis. Exactly. And that covenant, like you said, like just being so connected, intertwined, a union formed, etc., just inextricably connected to that trauma.
It is. It's all intertwined. I mean, it's a marriage of joining. You're joining things together, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you recognize that, oh my gosh, I'm married to this trauma, then you say, okay, how can I divorce myself from trauma? How do I get out of this marriage?
Right.
Annul it. Let my how do I do this? And that's the hardest part. It's
Yeah.
easy to get married to trauma. It's very hard to get rid of trauma. It's very hard to say, I don't want to be with you anymore. Because come on, we know what happens with exes. You're
Yeah.
like, I love you. And then we're like back over there, like, hey, big head,
Yeah.
like, oh hey.
I love you. You love me.
I
Let's
miss you.
let's be together forever, ever, ever. Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Yeah,
You know,
even though you're not good for me, like in my mind I know that, but as a
it
basis
was
of what
toxic.
happened,
It
it's
was like,
toxic.
but we fool ourselves and we're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm just gonna come back to you. No, like if you don't block, if you don't delete, if you don't say, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I'm done, it's a wrap, it's over. If you
yeah,
don't do that, then we'll continue to be married to trauma. Like that's just the way that the cycle is gonna go over and over again. And you
yeah.
can tell when people are married to trauma because the drama follows. Those who are married to trauma,
Mm,
the
talk about
drama
it, sis.
is
Yeah, talk about
always
it.
on you, you know,
Yeah,
and you'll find yourself unable to be at peace or at rest.
right.
You'll be allergic to peace. Like if something's going well and
Yeah,
your marital spouse says, your trauma will start speaking through you. You'll ruin relationships. You'll
yeah,
chase your destiny helpers away. Like it's just you'll go places that you shouldn't be going. You'll entertain things you shouldn't be entertaining. Although your tribe is here, you're
right.
like, no, this is too much peace, and you have to stir up confusion. You have to
Mm,
create a nemesis. You have to do all this stuff, and
all
it's
these
like
things.
that's your spouse talking. It's not you.
Yeah.
It's your spouse. It's who you married to.
No, that's a good point. I know you've mentioned before, I don't know if it was on our lovely show or just our other communication, that self-sabotage, you will keep yourself from the joy that you deserve and the healing because of being married to trauma. And I touch on that, sis, because that's really crucial. I know I've been there. I'm being
Yeah,
honest. I've been there on the journey.
yeah, me too. And that self sabotage is real. And until you really recognize that, then it's like, oh man, you struggle. You
Yeah.
struggle. Hey Regina, yes, you finally caught alive. There we go.
Hey, okay. Hey, Regina, shout out to our listeners. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for
Yes,
being on.
for
Yeah, for
tuning
sure.
in. We
But
appreciate you,
that
but
self-sabotage is so real. We appreciate y'all. That self-sabotage is so real.
it's real, and it's really a nuclear bomb to our bodies. I think I told you this before. I'm a very visual person, so when I have to explain something, I need to explain it in a way that I want you to see it in your mind's eye. That
Yeah,
self sabotage is like someone dropping a nuke right in
yeah,
in your center. We know what nuclear bombs do. They destroy everything, not just in a little mile radius, in a 50, 100-mile radius. And then it takes a
yeah,
while for all the nuclear reactive agents to leave. Ask Hiroshima, ask all these places that have had
yeah.
nukes dropped on them. They're still dealing with that. It seeps into the groundwater. Like we don't want to be dropping a nuclear bomb on ourselves with self-sabotage.
Exactly.
This
Exactly.
phrase keeps coming up. Don't be the weapon that prospers against yourself. We talk about these weapons.
Exactly.
I'm going to keep saying this forever. We talk
Yeah.
about all these weapons externally. Oh, and my haters and they're jealous. We do it to ourselves. This is the coach. This is Coach Selah talking now. We do
Right.
it to ourselves.
Coach.
Come on, because we can't coddle. I'm not talking about anyone else. I'm saying we can't coddle ourselves. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's okay. No, We're the weapon. I'm my own nuclear bomb. No one else has to destroy me. I'm my own
Absolutely.
nuclear bomb that says, oh, I'm right there. And then I'm like, no, I can't do that. Or let me delay this. Let me not answer this. Oh no, let me get back into these bad habits that are going to make me lose these opportunities. We have to be very introspective because
Absolutely.
if we're married to the trauma, if we identify that we're married, we're not looking at anyone else's relationship. We're saying, how do we break this covenant? I don't want to be married to you anymore. So I have to realize the things that I do. I have to take accountability. Who, like, says, who wants to do that? Who really wants to
No,
do that?
we don't. But I mean, you are really just hitting it, sis. We have to stop looking externally and stop blaming the haters. Yeah, the haters do exist, but
Yes.
if we want to move forward, we got to, as you say, look within. We got to be reflective. And we have to just take stock of what can I do differently? That serenity, right? That serenity prayer of, okay, some things I can't change. That's going to be what it is. But what can I change so that I can heal? How can I
Yeah.
ignore or not dwell on the things that I can't change, but rather focus on the things that I can do? I can be happy about this XYZ while whatever's going on, that is something toxic or whatever with a family member. Let's keep it all the way real. I'm about to go in. Whatever is toxic out of our control, whether it be issues we got with a family, we got an ex, we got a baby daddy, we got whatever. There are certain things out of our control, but that which we dwell on is that which will consume our mind and our heart. So in this whole self-sabotage and is being married to this trauma, is inextricable connection.
Yeah.
Where we're choosing to put our energy. Let me tell you, I for one, I be practicing as hard as it is, and it's a daily, sometimes moment by moment journey. I I literally will just laugh at me if you must. Talk to myself because there's no one to talk. I'll be like, listen, Lakeish, like it ain't even worth it. Whether it's a family situation coming at me sideways or it's a so-called friend, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, I'm just like, you know what? My peace is my priority. So I'm
That's
not
it.
to respond to. As you said, you could block, you could do whatever it is that we need to do to dissolve that marriage, right? Since we, talking in the terminology of what marriage is and a contract, and my sis laid it all out. The dissolution of marriage is that of separating all ties, you and that which you were attached to, be it a significant other, be it that happened in your life that was traumatic, that definitely is something to be acknowledged in however way. It's not something to be brushed under. It was something that hurt you, something that changed your life, whatever the case is. But if we stay stuck in that and we don't find ways to heal so that we can be joyful while still, managing the hurt or the whatever, the triggers, whatever the case is. But I ain't trying to stay stuck in pain. I ain't trying to no, I'm not trying to do that, because then I'm going to take away from my joy and my peace. So chime in, sis. I really want to hear what your thoughts are on that, but that's where I'm at. Real talk.
You're hitting right on it. And for those of us who just joined, hey, how are you? Lovely to see you.
Hey,
We're talking about being married to trauma, and not just leaving it there. We're talking about being married to trauma, but then having the dissolution, dissolving the marriage. You know what I mean? So sis, you're spot on it. And Regina said something. She said she started healing when she stopped decentering people. Like, I can't center you, I have to center myself. And then it's like a sun, everything else is going to orbit around you. And that's the reality of it, right? Where we're saying,
yeah,
I'm married to this thing, but I have to put myself first. And it's not in a selfish way, but if this marriage is going to drain me to the point where I can't complete my purpose, I can't fulfill the call on my life, that I can't accomplish my goals, that I know that I'm in the will, that I need to be doing this thing, but I am so stuck in my ways. I'm so stuck in my trauma. I'm so happy to be with them. I hate this marriage, but I can't get out of it. We have to say,
yeah,
wait a minute, I need to leave this marriage. And you mentioned it. When you get divorced, a high percentage of people who get divorced end up not remarrying, sometimes remarrying, but you stay in very close emotional and physical contact with your ex spouse. because you're like, they're familiar. This is all I've known. And depending on how long you've been married to something, that's all you know. You begin to meld your identity with someone. So it's like, no, I'm going to divorce you. We're going to go through the legal proceedings, and I'm not going to be around you anymore. I don't need to be around you anymore because you were never really good for me. And I got married to you out of fear. And it's all I knew. And once we recognize that, but this is the thing, it's a hard pill to swallow.
It really
And
is.
then there's shame and there's guilt and there's embarrassment that goes with it, because it's like, okay, I've been married to trauma for all these years and
Mm,
I lost myself. I constantly compare trauma to being in jail,
mm.
that there's rehabilitation that you have to do. And when I get the push to write this book, I'm going to do it.
Yes,
When
you
you know what I'm saying? Because it's being rehabilitated from trauma, that I
should.
have been in the jail of trauma for so long. I'm trying not to go too deep, but I'm like, come on, we're talking about it. That if
Hey, just at
yeah,
least we get kind of the gist of it. But I agree. Don't be sharing information more than what my level of comfort is. So I'm with you. Just whatever your level of comfort. But I feel you going in.
yeah, it's not even about me. It's just like a lot of people don't want to go beyond the surface and the
Right.
layers. And the only way you can heal is if you stop being topical, and you have to go way deep down. So if I'm saying that I was in a trauma jail for 10 years
Mm,
and now I come out, I'm 10 years behind. Just
mm.
like if anyone was in jail, you go to jail in 1998 and you come out in 2008, baby, the whole world has changed.
Different. It's different.
Technology, imagine the
Yeah,
phone, the internet, all this stuff, and you have no idea what's going on. There is a rehabilitation that needs to happen. We talk about rehabilitating people from jail. We never talk about it from trauma. That's why we have to go to therapy. We have to have our life coaches. We have to do these things because we have been stuck in the jail of trauma for so long that when we come back to the real world, when we're free, when we're out of the halfway house, when we're there, we
mm,
don't even know who we are because we've been married to this thing for so long. So it's very important that once we know we are married to trauma, we take ourselves out of that relationship, and then we work on finding ourselves again, because there's so much that you lose in trauma.
absolutely. No, I absolutely. It's so true. It's almost like we are existing while we are married to that trauma as opposed to living. And
Yeah.
so when we make the decision to to dissolve and to get out of it, we need to work on loving ourselves, because we love that trauma, or we were connected, attached to it, whatever you want to call it, so much so that we lost ourselves. And I can attest to it.
Yeah.
Lose ourselves such that when we finally get a light bulb, whatever change agent, whatever catalyst, whatever it is that sparks
Yep.
that desire for us to, want to make a change, um, then we got to choose. And like I said, it could be a every day, could be a every moment thing. That choice. I'm all about that word choice, because we make
Uh,
choices in life, and so it's a choice, a regular basis choice of, do I go back to what has been binding me, to what has jailed me, to what has caused me to exist and not live out the life that God has purposed to me? Because no, he wants us to have an abundant life. The thief just be coming to steal and rob our joy and cause us to self-sabotage. But he wants our life to be joyful. So it's a choice to say, do I want to stay locked up? Do I want to, just continue to relive and rehash? Or do I want peace? Do I want joy? Do I want happiness? And those things, we have to work at it on a regular basis, daily. So I'm right there with you, sis. And we have to realize, like you said, it's something that we likely have been sort of like locked up in, or just encased in for so
yes.
long. So with it being so long, it's not going to happen overnight. We have to know that it's going to take time. The journey takes time. It takes support. It takes love of ourselves and love and support from whoever, we've discerned that is there to be a support along the way. But we can't just be like, okay, I'm healed now. It's over. No, no, no. Because that's when stuff be popping off and you'd be like, dang, I thought I was here. I thought I was good.
I thought I was good. I thought I was over them. I thought I was done. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
we have
you
to
gotta
look at
keep
it as
on.
a regular relationship. Like, oh man, I thought I was finished. But then you see a picture of them, or you smell cologne that smell like we have to be honest with ourselves. And
We
you smell
do, we do. Look, we have to, whatever our strategies that we have, worked through to on our journey of healing. We got to keep that in the toolbox. Don't close the toolbox once you heal. You better, because you will need that. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need some calm meditation, some time to yourself. You're gonna need all of it. You can be like, oh, I'm good. Let me just go hang out. Let me go da. Nothing gonna bother me.
oh
No triggers and everything else come through. You hear a
yeah.
voice, his voice, be like, oh, my baby, you
It
hear
reminds
him?
you,
Yeah,
it pushes you right back. You know, there's a parable in the Bible, and it talks about how a man he swept and cleaned out his house. He swept it, cleaned it. It was
mm,
nice. And then he cleaned it of all the spiritual wickedness. That
mm.
one spirit went to the abyss, to the outer darkness, and grabbed seven spirits that were stronger than it.
My.
I'm coming back to this house to occupy it. And when he came back, he found the house filled, not just with air, he found the house filled with the Holy Spirit so that there was no entry that could happen. We have to do the same thing. That if we clean ourselves out and we empty ourselves out and we detoxify and all this stuff, and we're like, trauma, I'm done with you, I'm over, I'm over you. We have to make sure that we fill ourselves up because that trauma is going to try to come back with something stronger. And it
Absolutely.
was like, okay, I can't grab you with this anymore. Well, let me up the ante a little bit. Let me try to grab you with this. And that's how we stumble and fall. And then we get back into the marriage.
Yeah.
We stand before the pastor, we stand before the minister again
Yeah.
and recommit ourselves to marriage. And it's like, no, because you said it, we weren't recognizing our triggers.
Right.
Say, hold on, like this is not something that I want to go back to. And then there's that shame and guilt that, oh man, if I am triggered, or I react in a way that I don't anymore, but I used to, and all this stuff. We have to say we have to keep going. Like sometimes we're gonna fall, and that's okay. We allow ourselves to be human, but the goal is to keep pushing and to keep constantly working at the divorce of the trauma. That if there's a marriage, we worked hard at that marriage. Oh, we nurtured it, we fed it, we went on honeymoons, we went on anniversary dates. Do you know what I'm saying? When
Absolutely. Absolutely.
when
You're
you're
so
married,
right.
you celebrate your anniversary, you do all this stuff, you connect with who you connected with. But
Right.
if we do that to trauma, well, there's so much of ourselves that we don't recognize anymore once we subtract trauma. There's so many people who don't want to be around us anymore because our trauma, we bonded with them in that, or our trauma kept us at a certain level and it made us very malleable and made us just very like doormatish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when and it happens in real divorces. Like my parents got divorced when I was 11, going on 12. It,
Mm,
it was it was like a two household divorce. It was our
mm,
physical house, but it was the church too. And I'm
right.
just being honest. It just
Yeah.
happened. You
Absolutely.
choose a side and you stick to that side, or relationships break up, families and friendships and sisterhood break up with a
Yeah.
divorce. But in this case, it's okay for that to happen because
Right.
those things no longer are needed for your journey. Because
Exactly.
if I divorce trauma and you get mad at me, baby, you're not
You're
made
not,
for my life.
you're not for me. You're not for me.
You're not made for me. No,
You
not at
ain't
all.
it. You ain't it. Bye. Be
Yeah.
blessed. Bye bye.
Be blessed. I do see a question from Regina. I'm gonna put it
Yes,
up on the
please.
screen. Um, and this is another sister who's super mindful, super on the healing journey, and just really committed to helping, especially Black women. So we're promoting that. Black men, we love you as well. There's just a beauty in a space. Like everyone needs their own spaces of healing, right? It's a time for us to come together, but there's a time when we just need to be around our own and we need to share and heal. So love you so much, Regina. Okay, speaking of sabotaging spirits, any advice on how to keep destiny swappers away from us? I don't necessarily know what a destiny swapper is, but if I can try to take context clues, like someone who's coming around you and they want to take your destiny and run with it, like they want to take your ideas, and just please let me know if I'm right, and if not, please correct me. They want to take your ideas, they want to take what you're supposed to do, all the things that maybe you're creating, and they want to take it and they want to run with it, before you get a chance to kind of get it off the ground. It's exactly that. Yeah. Um, and honestly, it's really important. We talked about this before. I think I was even, on an episode of your show, Regina, that discernment in this season is very important. You know what I mean? Because there's a level of trauma that still is with those around us in our circle. I'm just taking a small tangent, sis. I hope it's okay.
Oh,
Um,
oh yes.
there's a level of trauma that we don't have trust for people, and then we start accusing people. And I'm not saying this is happening, I'm just giving scenarios. We
Sure.
start accusing people of being a destiny killer, swapper, putting the water on our fire and things like that, when they're really just challenging us and they're really just holding us accountable. So we have to distinguish between, are they holding me accountable, or is this person really trying to take what I'm doing and running with it, not helping me, not pushing me to do it? Although this is my call, my gift, I know I've been graced and gifted with this, that they're trying to take it and move with it. So it's really important to tap into that discernment, and that you know what a destiny swapper looks like, you know what a destiny helper looks like. And even in this moment, I feel like you already know who's trying to swap your destiny, but you're in denial. You don't want to admit it, and you're like, no, it can't be them. It's them, sweetie.
Mhm.
It's them. It's them. So move accordingly. You have the discernment. Don't doubt yourself. You know what I mean? Like, the
Yeah.
Most High gives us that gift of discernment. It is a gift. It's a gift He passes to us, and so we want to take it and use it properly. We don't want to have that gift just sitting there. Like, I see. There we go. Bang. It is what it is. You already know who it is.
Oh my
Back up
gosh.
from them. Keep your distance. Keep your space. Come on. I'm just confirming. I'm just
Yes.
confirming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Sis, what you just said, all of that, and why am I just the part that you was like, is them, is them. Why am I stuck on that? Because it's true. Real talk. I've had to grow into that. Like you kind of just know like when somebody is not really for you. They're not really team Steph, team Lilac. They're not team Lakeish. Like,
No.
no, but especially those of us who, call it have a good heart or nice people, whatever you want to call it or whatever, it couldn't be them. No, they're not like that. It's helpful and healthy. That's one of my favorite phrases. I don't know why, but it's helpful and healthy to just call it what it is. It doesn't mean we got to be mean about it or we're nothing. It's just it helps us, in our mind, our headspace to move accordingly when we actually call what it is. Somebody who's trying to not help us, just be blocked. Whatever. It's not even nothing. But don't continue to stay around people if you know they're not good for you, because it's almost like you're working against your healing. And you work against yourself. No, stop.
It's a form of self-sabotage.
It really is.
You know that someone's not good for you, and it's been shown, it's been proven, and you know how they feel about you. You could discern their hearts, their thoughts. You've had dreams, you've had visions, you've had people tell you, oh, watch out for that one, and we still continue to be around them. Hello.
It's on us at that point. It's on us because
It's
you
on
have
us.
to let it go. You have to like I have been, that person, and growing up, be family to be like, oh, they don't mean it. Oh, them just that way.
No.
I just no, 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 no. Like I, love all people, agape, but that don't mean I gotta want to rock with you if I know for whatever reason. It's not even like always the person is intentionally not gonna be good or whatever. They do their own stuff, but that's on
Yeah.
them. That's on them. I feel like we take on people's stuff. Some of us, we care, whatever the case may be. Care about yourself a little more. Love yourself. I'm talking to myself right now. Care about
Exactly.
yourself a little more. Love yourself. Yeah, love everybody but yourself. No, some of them are that.
It
And that
doesn't make it doesn't make sense. And the reality is this too, is when you love yourself, there are certain marriages and certain relationships that you will not enter into. That it really starts with the self love, and it really starts with, okay, my ability to see myself as worthy of good love, of good friendships, of an abundant life, of all that stuff.
Amen.
Often we're like, I'm not even worthy of it, so I'm going to allow people to treat me like I'm not worthy of it. And then
Right.
that's how we stay in trauma.
That
That's
is
a
absolutely.
traumatic mindset. And then you had mentioned something before, like about just being in the relationship and treating it like that. sometimes we have Stockholm syndrome with our
Mm.
trauma,
Yeah.
that this thing has held us captive, and we say, oh my gosh, I love you so much that I
Mm.
have to stay with you. And we don't realize that we're saying, oh, our captive, what kept us captive is actually our savior. That's Stockholm syndrome. You begin to fall for the person who kept you, who had held you captive, who
Right.
captivated you, who grabbed you, who has you chained up, who has you bound up. You say,
Yeah.
oh, they're not that bad. And there's been so many cases. It happens, especially like if a man has kidnapped a woman,
Mm-hmm.
the woman, you're scared at first, but then you begin to love your captor because they're giving you food, they're giving you water, not realizing they have me locked up in my basement.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you can't even disconnect the part about that you liked, oh, they did something nice for me. Skip past all the other bad stuff. Skip past you got kidnapped. Like in your mind, all you're like, oh, they gave me food. Well, they kidnapped you. What about that part? What
let,
about
let,
that part?
let's not forget that part. And that's what happens, especially with friendships and things like that. And when you trauma bond with someone, and when you say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and we're just gonna discuss this traumatic thing, and this
Mm,
is how we're gonna be together. When you begin to say, I don't want to be in that anymore,
right.
you have to say, I have to see this trauma for the ugliness it is. I know that I've made it look so pretty and so accommodating and so wonderful, but this thing is ugly and I really don't want it around me anymore. And then you start to see the ugly trauma in other people who don't want help. Everybody has trauma, but there are
Right.
people who want to work through their trauma. It's a perpetual thing. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to be here and stay here at a plateau and be stagnant. No,
Right.
I'm going to work through this thing. When you are working in it, you notice very quickly who's not working, and that they have loved the stench of the trauma and it's just become pleasant to them, and your mind shifts and you're like, stop it. Like, so
Yeah.
it's just when you dissolve the marriage, and when you say, no, I got to be out, we're just telling you to be prepared,
Right.
that there will be relationships and whole systems and whole things that have been cultivated for years that will crumble and break because the thread of trauma is being pulled out. When you pull that thread on that
Absolutely.
piece, that garment, it just
And
all
it
crumbles.
just crumbles. Yeah. No, it's so true, sis. And going back to that whole self-love, and and just mentioning, like I think I said about, like, you want peace and you want joy, that desire to want that peace and to love yourself, and I've touched on this before and probably in a previous episode, it has to be greater than that desire to be attached to whatever, right? And so with
It
that being
has to be.
said, that's another one of my little favorite lines right there. But um we have to want to love ourselves. We have to want that more. And so with that, like you said, there are going to be people that we trauma bonded with, that with certain things we like about them, and we just something that you said earlier made me think about, we build our identity sometimes on our trauma. It's something you said that kind of just made me think that.
You do.
Yes, and we do. And so we not only build our identity, but we then attach to people who we think, fit that identity, just because we're all wrapped up to it, because we think about the either the good parts, or more realistic, we think about the parts that are just familiar to us, about the way that we become as a result of the trauma. And we just trying to make it and be strong and survival and whatever things we tell ourselves. But once we get to that point, back to that self-love and that desire for that joy and peace and everything above whatever you might have been through, then we're going to lose friends. We're going to shed certain behaviors. It's almost like a metamorphosis. We gonna be that caterpillar about to be
Caterpillar
fly and
butterfly.
fly. We about to fly. We about to fly. And that fear that we have within us, which kept us locked up to begin with, will keep us in a struggle where we're like, we want to do better, but we want to connect back with that person, especially because it's gonna be lonely. I'm gonna keep it real. Sometimes it's gonna feel lonely, but the
Eh,
freedom on the other side of it is priceless. The freedom in your mind, the happiness, the joy, and the people who are supposed to be for you, even if it's not like two people, one day you find in your life and that's it. That's better. That's better than a whole host of people that's like, fake and phony friends and whatever. That ain't it. That ain't it. Get you one person, and if that person is the person that is healthy, where your mind is, and where you want to be, don't be dragged back, but where you grew up and what things were and what have you. You want to have heights to fly, baby, fly. You gotta fly.
Fly and take off and fly and be solo. And that's okay. At times, due to abandonment, rejection, and all this stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be alone. And we need to have these big crowds and we need to have all these people. But like there's a way to feel lonely even in a crowd of 100 people. Yes. So that's how you test it. Like, am I just trying to use these people in a codependent way or as a crutch? Or do I need to spend time with myself? Do I fear my own thoughts? Do I fear what I'm going to think about when I'm by myself? Like, I love time by myself. And I love the ability to hear my own thoughts. I was just talking to my sister about this. I'm an ambivert. Like, I like to be extroverted. My parents made me extroverted. They made me go out. We had to do this, do that. But there are beautiful times of introversion that I want to put a sign on my door. Don't talk to me. I want to put a sign on my WhatsApp, on my everything. Like, and that's no shade. And I need to recoup. I'm fine with myself. Yes. When you don't like your own thoughts, when you're afraid of your own space, what things are going to be speaking about and all that. You're like, just a minute. I need to recognize, am I using these people as a crutch? Because I'm still lonely, even in the crowd of these people that I can't even, I just have to do something to get rid of my own thoughts. We have to be careful of that. Yep. And that's all in the marriage. Like, okay, you have a mediator at the table and there's a couple like, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. And trauma, but that's the thing. Trauma is always going to want us. It's not like, come on, now that's what I'm floating to, right?
Desirable.
It's so desirable. And trauma's like, ooh, I'm always going to want you, right? I'm always going to want you. We have to be the one strong enough to say, I'm good. I'm all set. I'll pass on you. Because it's not like trauma's going to be like, oh, yes, I will easily let you go. I know we have irreconcilable differences, or I was not faithful in all this and all the ways that you could divorce. You could just check, okay, irreconcilable differences. Okay, they committed adultery, financial problems. We just couldn't get it together. Trauma's never going to say, oh, I don't like you. I don't like you anymore. No, trauma's always gonna be like, baby, I love you. Like,
seducing you to come back.
Yes, I'll do better this time. Like, and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, it looks good, it sounds good, but then trauma acts like trauma. Don't
be surprised if trauma gonna be what it's been. Like, if you backslide. It is what it never said it was going to change. That's just how we get caught up. Don't get caught up.
It never said it was going to change.
No,
we heard it. When you divorce yourself from trauma, when you get unmarried from trauma, you stop living in the delusion. Yeah, and you start living in reality. And most people are afraid of reality because it's painful. It hurts. You have to think about all the things that happened to you as a child, all the things that you missed, and all this. So we live in the delusion, and we live above in the delusion. And then that's why it's called a reality check. Why would we need to be checked if we're living in reality already? When you're in a marriage to trauma, you live in delusion because you're like, this is something that's okay. No, it's not.
It's not.
And it really weighs us down. And I was having a really good conversation about the analogy of an airplane. Like, oh man, I hope this person shares it. I'm going to try to be persuasive. It's the analogy of an airplane.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Even while they were speaking, I was thinking about the weight of an airplane. That sometimes that you have to take off that weight from the airplane so that it can fly, and some luggage and some bags have to be left behind so that the plane can actually take off. And we're talking about the acceleration period and all that. Like, that's what it is. And when you say, I'm going to get on the runway and I'm going to, trauma's going to stay here, but I'm going to fly this plane away.
Yep.
Yo, it's hard to get that thing started, and it's hard to make sure that you're okay enough, because we'll turn that thing around and we'll just go right back.
So true. It's easier to go back. It's harder to do the work, to stay healed and happy and healthy. That's harder. It's easier to just what Regina said, trauma stay spinning the block.
Spin the block,
Ain't that the truth?
girl.
Man, we gotta be the one to say no, full sentence, full stop, no period.
Full,
But it did be
full stop.
full
It's
stop, full
over.
stop. Yeah, it's over. Oh my gosh, so true.
It's over. You can't, even if you try to spin the block, you can spin it, but you got to keep going. You can't spin
Yeah, you
around
gotta
here.
tell it no because it's gonna come back around trying to get you. But you gotta break up with it and the for real breakup, not the like you back together next week and the week after that and all this other foolishness. You gotta be done.
You have to be done.
Done. You have to be done. But what you were saying, sis, about liking time, alone, I feel like I had to grow into that because I'm an ambivert too. I don't know. Shout out to the ambiverts. I don't know if people really know what that is, but real quick, those of us who, our energy could, get hyped up around people, but just as well, it could be hyped up by ourselves or just relaxed by ourselves. Well. Yes. And so, mic check 1 2 1 2. I always love to rock a crowd and energize, whatever the case may be. But to your point, I don't say later in life, maybe the past decade, give or take, I've really been leaning more into the introverted side of me, of that ambivert, and really finding that time to myself is something I had to get comfortable with because some of us, myself included, when we're just so used to being around people, it's hard to just be by yourself. But once I've learned, kind of that self-love piece that I'm touching on a lot today, I had to learn that. And to clarify, self-love piece doesn't mean that I didn't already love myself. It's just more of the focus on ourselves than some of us, the helpers, we just been like that from when we was young. We always making time for the healers. Yeah, we just been making time. We love ourselves, but not so much as the other people that we always expending our energy on. So anyways, I've felt alone even, and you touched on it. Sometimes you feel alone even around a whole bunch of people. I felt that. When I reflected, I realized. But the difference is now when I, carve out and make time for myself, I'm choosing to be alone so that I can actually collect my thoughts. And I can actually say, what is it that I want? Yeah. What is it that I need, as opposed to just being around a whole bunch of people and feeling alone? And I ain't even got the opportunity to think about what I want. I'm just trying to steady please people. So, like I said, you have to want to heal and be happy, and you have to want a divorce from that trauma, and you got to work at it every day, sometimes several times a day. You have to.
You have to, because if you don't, then the block spinach is right on. The block.
She's getting me. Regina, that's Regina. Regina, shout out to Regina.
Yo, she's the
part right there is so true.
Stay spinning the block, because the block spinach is inevitable if we don't work on it. That as soon as we know, oh man, I'm about to go back into this space that we're so used to living in trauma and so used to being married to trauma, so used to being connected to trauma, that it's nothing to slide back into that space.
Right.
That's easy. That's light work. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just be that person again. It is difficult. It is hard to say, actually, I'm not gonna be what I've been from birth. I was born into the family. I followed this. I did this. It's in my DNA. It's in my bloodstream. Right. I have to now go against my very own nature and say, I can't be this way. I can't do this. That's hard. So yes, working on it multiple times a day, that every situation I say, wait a minute, I don't have to respond in that way. And it makes it better for all relationships, every type of relationship. I don't have to respond in that way. And I was actually, man, it's so different living in Africa. It is. It's interesting. That's a whole different separate topic.
We can make a topic out of it or something. Yeah.
We need to, because there's so many comparisons. And what I realized is that, and I was just talking to a good friend. I met her last Saturday, but I don't care. She's my good friend already. She's my sis. Nice. In this time, it's the spirits that are connecting. That even you and I, Lakeisha, we haven't known each other very long, but you're my sister. Like,
amen. That's so true, listeners.
My spirit knows you. And so it doesn't take long for that, right? So that's the time that we're in now, that you can connect with someone very quickly, and it's not artificial or superficial. It's very spiritual, right?
Amen.
So she's from New York and her husband's from Ghana. And, I had noticed that the Miss Independent was still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
moms, like up north,
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that that version of herself would be peeking through, and this is why I love to be around married couples. My favorite. We don't
Yeah.
even have to, because it doesn't have to be a formal session, but you're gonna get it because I'm like, oh, I'm observing you. Let me see your natural habitat. Don't
Right.
put on airs for me. That's why I usually counsel outside of the office, because don't act like you have to be all. I want to see who you
Just be
are.
who you are. Just be you. Yeah, for sure.
Be you. I noticed some of these different things, and I'm like, you can let Miss Independent go. And I had to speak to myself in that too, right?
Yeah.
Where I actually had to help her pack her bags because she was ready to go. Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And when you're in America, and you have to be kind of hard and harsh, and it's hard for Black women in America because it's like you have to be so strong, but then they want you to be feminine, and they want you to be soft and weak and hard and strong at the same time.
All of that.
It creates all this schisms in your brain, and it's
Does.
just good to be in a space where I can walk in my divine feminine, and
Mm.
that's what I'm expected to do, and that's what I want to do naturally. Like
Um,
that's what I want to do, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is the way to live. I
I'm with
had to
you.
say, I gotta let this trauma go that I've been married to in the country of my birth, and that I learned, and that I saw the women in my family do. Like all this stuff is all in my head. And I'm like, I have to say, I need to dissolve this relationship because it's going to help every relationship that I have, business, romantic, platonic, sisterhood. It's going to help every relationship when I'm like, there are certain parts of myself I don't need anymore.
Yeah.
If those parts remain, if those parts stay, then it ruins everything in my path. And if I know about the part and I don't, I'm not asking you nicely to leave. I'm commanding and demanding that you leave. But if we don't do that, sis, it goes back to self-sabotage.
So
I
true.
know I know this part is detrimental to you, to that, to all this, to my parents, to everybody.
So
And
true.
I'm gonna keep this part. It's because I want to sabotage myself, that I'm afraid of progress. I'm afraid to grow.
Yeah, no, sis, it is so true. And I can, relate to having, grown up in certain ways. And, as you talk about the Black woman,
Yeah.
it's so true that, we are, and this whole mantra of strong Black woman and all this other stuff, we strong because we have to be, not because we don't want to be soft and
Sure.
sweet and, whatever else that, maybe desired of, we want to be that too. Okay.
You
So,
do.
and so in an attempt to be that way, this healing that we are embarking on, that we're talking to you about, listeners, that we're on the journey as well, we have to dissolve from that trauma. We have to not just stay stuck in whatever we may have grown up with. We may have seen our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, and we love them and we have empathy for them. But at the same time, if you want different, you got to do different, right?
That's the reality.
You have to. You have to. So, in our humanity, I know you touched on that before, you talking about humanity. We are human. So, and I've mentioned grace is one of my favorite words. Give yourself grace. Yeah, sometimes we may slip into something on our journey, say something or think something, whatever, but not to beat ourselves up for something we may say or do that is, kind of like akin to the old Lakeisha or the old Steph.
Mm.
Extend grace, but you know what it is? It's quick snapback. Because I might be thinking like somebody may be looking at me sideways and I might be thinking something, but I just in my head, woosah. And then what comes out of my mouth and how I react, that's all that matters. Because the 1,000 plus and million one thoughts becoming to our head, we don't mean we got to take captive any one of them. You don't
And
have to
that's the
take captive
reality.
any one of them.
We don't. And when we realize that every thought we have in our head isn't right,
Mm.
because at times we're like, oh, just because I thought it, it's right. No,
Mm-mm.
our thoughts and our feelings can often deceive us. And if we're not aware of them, right, if we haven't taken those thoughts captive, if we haven't subjugated them,
Mm-hmm.
and given them a run through at the checkpoint, and seeing that anything that's trying to exalt itself above the Messiah, like any of those things, like actually
Exactly.
taking the word and applying it, right, where it's like, okay, these thoughts are running in my mind. How do they get past my security checkpoint? Come
Yeah.
back here. I have a guard dog. I have an armed guard.
Yeah.
Is your name on this list? Is your name on the list?
You don't
This
have to
is
act
this
on
thought.
every thought. No, that's where the problem be at. That's what the problem be at. We need to realize that we have a whole bunch of thoughts, but don't beat ourselves up for them. Everybody has a whole bunch of thoughts. It's just a
Everybody.
matter of, we just got to learn how to just whoosah, just let them go, let them flow, let them keep on flowing in the river right out of our thoughts. Just let them flow and just only focus on acting on the ones that are in alignment with where we want our life to be.
It's true.
You got to be in alignment. You got to be in alignment. So constantly, I'm just like, reassessing as needed and just like, you know what? This is where I want to be. And so as a result of that, whatever I'm thinking or whatever I want to do, it can't be something that's reminiscent of something before this journey. That ain't it. I'm just only going forward and what it is that I want and what's going to get me there. You have to think like that. You have to think like that. And it's not easy, but it's better than the alternative. I don't want to be married to trauma. I don't want that. Bye.
Don't want it. Don't need it. Been there, done that. I'm all set.
Yeah.
And it's really allowing ourselves the space and the grace to grow.
Yes.
Often people box us in what they think about us, but we box ourselves too. That we have space to grow and we have the space to say, I can live a great life and I can be in a space of peace and I can choose this peace every day. And this peace can be a piece of me. And I begin to live this life in this way. This is the journey that I'm taking. And often we find ourselves mad at when we're knocked down or when something happens to us. But I like being sometimes knocked down because when I get up, I can see a different path. And then, when we're talking about our thoughts, we're talking about our meditation, and we're saying that I'm going to meditate on these things, the things that are above. I'm going to meditate on these things, and I'm going to check my thoughts. That I'm not going to say, oh, because I have this, I can't meditate. Try me, come try me and see if you can't meditate.
We all can.
And I've had many clients who are like, Steph, I can't meditate. I'm like, I love to hear that. Oh, you can't.
That's a challenge for you. To show them you can.
All that energy, all that aggressive energy is put toward that. It's not. All that energy is now channeled and repurposed into, you said you can't do what? Let's
work on that. Let's work on that.
Theory to test. I'm like, oh, let me test it out, because when someone says they can't heal or they can't do this, I love to hear that. And then at the end, when they're like, oh gosh, I never thought I could do this. Man, I've worked with clients with ADD, ADHD, all type of this, autism, all this. I can't meditate. I can't hyper focus, hyper this. And I'm like, no problem.
Right.
Let's work through this. But when we're talking about correcting the thoughts and when we're talking about coming out of the marriage or trauma, when we're saying, wait a minute, what am I thinking about? Because it's just like an addict. You say, I'm not going to use anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. But you're still hanging around the same people. You're still frequenting the same corners, the same parties, the same dates.
It's so true. You can't go where you used to go, be around who you used to be. You can't say you're about to be out of that life, but you still around that life. So I couldn't agree more. It's true. It's true.
It's reality. And that's the painful side of it. That we have to say, I have to come out of agreement with people, with places and things that only were with me because I was married to trauma. These were my in-laws because I was married to trauma. So I have to, I'm only connected to you through trauma. If I remove the trauma out of my life, then we can't be together anymore.
And we're not together anymore. Exactly. Facts. Yep.
So that's the hard part. It's very difficult, but
it's worth it. And in my humble opinion, for listeners, shout out to you. Thank you for being on this journey with us.
Yes.
But if I may, it's worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it because that freedom, baby, that freedom, that peace of mind.
It's priceless. And you can't put a price on it, and I always say, stand on business, even if you have to stand alone.
Yes.
You have to stand on business.
You have to.
If I look around and nobody's there, I have to stand on this, because once you go through so much and have been through so much, there are certain things that you cannot tolerate, you cannot accept, you cannot go forward in, and it's just a reality. And it's so beautiful to recognize it, and you recognize the healing and the growth inside of yourself, and you're like, all right, all this pain, all this crying, all this loneliness, all this isolation, it was worth it. It's okay, it was worth it.
Yeah.
just what you're saying. It was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it. Because on the flip side, our peace, that's what comes to us. And it's authentic. You can
Yes.
tell when people have tapped into authentic peace, that
Yes.
there's just a certain way and just a thing that you do because you're like, I have been through intense war, hell, and chaos.
Mm.
And unless, sis, you've been through intense war, hell, and chaos, you can't really experience peace. It's
Right.
you don't even know what peace is unless you've been through hell.
Right.
So we say thank you for all the stuff we went through because
Yeah.
this helped propel us onto the path of peace and help others to get there as well. I believe we're the
Absolutely.
guides. We're the guides to lead people right there. We're not
We
healing
model
anyone.
it. Right.
We're just helping you get to your own version of healing and get on the path of peace because we've seen it and we've proven it. We've tested it. Like we know it works.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly that, sis. I can't believe we are getting to the end of our episode because I mean, real talk, this has just been a great episode. And shout out to the listeners, shout out to those of you who have commented, asked questions. Please do more of that because I mean, I know for me and sis would probably agree, like we exist here to help you ourselves as well. Yeah. But as far as this platform, we want to hear from you. We want to read your comments, your questions, everything. So please just continue to connect with us and reach out to us. We love that.
Yeah, we absolutely. Regina said, "Don't leave." Yeah, baby. Look,
Right?
but
Oh
but
my.
Regina asked the question, "How do I book a session with you?" Look, we'll chat. Because
Right?
I really do feel like it's coaching, right?
Yes.
It's coaching you to a certain goal and certain place in your life. And if there are people who want to book a session with us, then who are we to deny them? Because your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. I mean, you know what I mean? So thank you,
Yes.
Regina. We
Yes.
appreciate you,
Thank you.
girl. You can
Yes,
be our beta
girl.
tester, okay? Because
Yes.
people need it, and all jokes aside, people need it. And if we've gone through it, then there's no point in us holding it inside. If we've gone through it, if we've experienced this, and we've come out on the other side of it, that weeping was enduring for the night, but then the joy is here in the morning and all that. We
Yes.
want to help other people get there too and show that it's a possibility. It's not just something you have to read about or hear about. You're looking at two living witnesses that have gone through it, come through it, and are on the other side still working through it. So we want to help you get there too. So we'll be
Amen.
in touch with you on that.
We
Okay.
certainly will. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So like Lakeisha, get in touch with us. Any type of feedback, comments, questions. We want to answer things. I think that'll be a really good thing to do. Ask any questions that you want so that we can answer you in real time. And we know where our wisdom comes from. We're operating in the wisdom from above. This is not worldly wisdom where we're able just to say nonsense, that we're talking and we're hearing you and we hear your hearts. We feel you. We love you. And we appreciate you being here. Did want to make a quick announcement about a small change happening with our time. So we're going next month, which is tomorrow.
Oh my
December
gosh.
December's
Really?
tomorrow. Like 2024 is coming to an end according to the Gregorian calendar. Like depending on what calendar you follow, the
Mm,
Gregorian calendar is ending in a month, believe it or not. So
wow.
there's still plenty of time to do what you need to do to accomplish your goals, your visions, your dreams, to connect with people. There's still plenty of time, right? We don't need much time.
Amen.
But next month we will be on at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So we're moving it up a little bit just to accommodate our schedules. We're moving it up. Same people, same topics, same healing, all that, same conversation, just be at a different time. We'll make sure to promote it ahead of time. And we're going to have some guests coming up, who
Yes.
are different things. We want to connect. We want to collaborate. Regina, we also want to collaborate and really just begin to have continue to have these conversations where we know we need to be having. It could be painful. It could be embarrassing. It could be awkward, but we're going to have it because it's very much so needed.
Amen. Mic drop. That's it.
Mic drop. Amen. We'll see you next time. Have an amazing rest of your weekend.
You.
And remember to be aware of where you're married to trauma and
Yes. Be
see yourself.
aware.
These are the divorces that we want. we want marriages to stay together and be loving, but this divorce is okay because it's
Yeah.
dragging us down. So don't get caught up in it. They might be tempting you. You might smell the cologne, see them. Oh, they're so cute.
No,
Bye.
they gone. They gone. They out.
See
They out your
you
life for a
later.
reason.
Out your life, and then once you divorce from them, we'll watch ourselves flourish. So okay, stay divorced from trauma. That's the goal. All right, y'all.
Bye.